Result is instantaneous, and it is devastating. The fire just races up her hair and swallows her whole. The demon lets out this final shriek as she's completely consumed by the fire, until there is absolutely nothing left but a pile of ash.
And just like that, the family is safe. Alright, today we're getting into a really chilling horror story. It's one that throws a supernatural demon up against a monster that's maybe a little too familiar, and it forces you to ask a pretty tough question. What or who is true evil? It all kicks off with this simple phrase right here. Ghar par koi hai? It just means, is anyone home? But trust me, in this story, that is the last question you ever want to hear coming from the other side of your door. It's not a friendly knock, it's a death sentence. So let's set the scene. We're in a small village that is living in absolute terror. I mean, every single night they are haunted by this supernatural predator known as a Chudayal. Think of a really vengeful, powerful female spirit, and she is just methodically stalking the streets. Her routine is terrifyingly simple, but it works every time. First, you hear the knock. Then comes the question, is anyone home? And if you're unlucky enough or foolish enough to answer that door, she grabs you, and you are never, ever seen again. But you know, the villagers, they're not just going to sit there and take it. They figure out she has a weakness, and it's a pretty clever one. Turns out the Chudayal absolutely cannot stand to look at her own reflection, so they put a mirror on the outside of every single door. It's like a shield. She sees herself, gets terrified, and just flees.
And for a little while, it works. The mirrors bring a sense of peace. But here's the thing. While the village has found a way to keep the monster outside, one family is about to realize that's only half the problem, because there's another kind of monster, and this one is already inside the house.
And here they are. You've got Harya, the father. He's a cruel alcoholic, and he basically terrorizes his own family. His wife, Kavita, she just endures all of it, suffering in silence. And then there's their little boy, Raju, who has to watch this happen day in and day out, just living in constant fear. And this is where the story gets really interesting. It sets up these two monsters side by side. On the one hand, you have the Chudayal. She's supernatural, she attacks your body, but she only comes out at night. And on the other hand, you have the father, a very human threat, who attacks your spirit. And he is a constant, round-the-clock terror. For young Raju, this whole situation is it's unbearable. He's literally trapped between two different kinds of evil. And one night, after watching his dad be particularly brutal to his mom, he gets pushed to a breaking point. He decides to do something completely unthinkable.
And the story kind of makes you stop and think, right? Put yourself in his tiny shoes for a second. There's a demon you can keep away with a simple mirror, but there's another one you can't escape, living in your own home. What would you do? What crazy, desperate choice might you make to protect the person you love?
His choice? It's absolutely chilling. In a moment of pure desperation, basically deciding to trade one monster for another, Raju sneaks over to the front door and he takes down the mirror. He removes the one thing keeping his family safe. So of course, that very night, the Chudayal comes back. She knocks on the door, which is now completely unprotected, and asks that terrible question. And who should stumble to the door? Raju's father, Harya, drunk and angry as always, completely ignoring his family screaming for him to stop.
Harya throws the door open, and just like that, the Chudayal grabs him. She yanks him out into the night, dragging him screaming off into the woods towards her lair. The monster Raju invited in did exactly what he wanted. But believe me, this story is a long way from being over.
Now, despite everything she's been through, all the years of abuse, Kavita is horrified. She looks at her son and says these words. It's this incredible sense of duty, or maybe something else, but it kicks in. She grabs a torch and just bolts into the darkness after them to save the man who made her life a misery.
And this all leads to the final showdown, deep inside the Chudayal's creepy cave. Kavita and Raju, who, of course, followed his mom, are about to make their last stand.
So inside the cave, Kavita sees the Chudayal about to kill Harya. And in this just unbelievable act of bravery, she screams at the demon, offering her own life to save her husband's.
But then Raju steps forward. He sees the demon threatening his mom, and he yells, offering himself instead. He's willing to give up everything to protect his mother, who, let's be honest, is the person he was trying to save in the first place.
The Chudayal is kind of amused by all this family drama. She just brushes the boy aside and grabs Kavita, lifting her up. And right there, in that moment, With the demon totally distracted, the smallest person in the story sees his chance to be the biggest hero.
I mean, this kid is just so resourceful. He's still got that torch his mother brought. He quietly slips around behind the chew dial, and with his steady hand, he touches the flame to her long, dry hair.
The result is instantaneous, and it is devastating. The fire just races up her hair and swallows her whole. The demon lets out this final shriek as she's completely consumed by the fire, until there is absolutely nothing left but a pile of ash.
And just like that, the family is safe. The demon from the outside world has been destroyed, all thanks to the courage of a mother and her son. But as they're standing there in the quiet of the cave, the story leaves us with one last, really haunting idea to chew on.
And that's really the question, isn't it? After everything that happened, who was the real monster here? Was it the supernatural demon who hunted in the dark? Or was it the human monster who was so terrible that his own son decided inviting a demon into their home was the only way out? That's what this incredible story leaves you to figure out.